Lave radio. It's even louder than me. Hey, wait a minute. That can't be right.
Galnet News Digest, 15th of April 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news, Empire admits costly mistake.
Organics wanted, as Vista opens its doors.
A day in the life of a conflict zone NPC.
Empire admits costly mistake. Imperial forces working to eliminate the Neo-Marlinists in the Madrid system have issued the wrong railgun as a reward, according to a statement released on Monday. The relatively small number of participants in the operation routed the NMLA, and the top 75% were awarded a 2B long-range high-capacity railgun with feedback cascade as a reward. Only the Imperial armourer forgot to fit the feedback cascade before shipping the railguns. Unable to recall the sub-specification modules, Senator Petraeus has agreed to shoulder the cost of having a whole new batch of railguns engineered and deposited into commanders' accounts at Payne Scott City in Madrid. The cost of the mistake, and of putting it right, is believed to run into billions of credits, but it's unlikely to make much of a dent in Imperial defence spending.
Organics wanted as Vista opens its doors. Commanders using the Odyssey Galaxy Simulator today have a first opportunity to take samples from the amazing virtual lifeforms discovered on virtual planets in the simulation and to virtually hightail it back to the virtual Vista Genomics store to cash in their virtual winnings. Not only will they be virtually paid handsomely, they may also gain virtual recognition for being the first virtual commanders to return with virtual samples of each type of virtual life.
Commanders can at last take off their dirty Dominator suits and replace them with much more fitting Artemis suit, the only suit capable of holding the Dyson scanner, the only scanner that just loves to scan. It can scan up to 15 different life forms with no need to replace the filter in between planets. Simply bombard the planet with DSS probes, look for the life form heat map, log out and in again so the heat map isn't bugged, follow the signal down and get scanning. Not only that, but whenever you land on a virtual planet where no one has gone before, the opening of Also Sprach Zarathustra will ring out on your virtual in-helmet sound system as you relish making the first virtual footprint in the virtual sand, pebbles, ice, snow.
A day in the life of a conflict zone NPC. Hello, I'm Dave. I work as an NPC in the conflict zone at Takeuchi's fortification in Nervi. The idea is, we're there whenever one of the players in the Odyssey Galaxy simulation want to have a battle, and they haven't managed to find 23 friends to play with. We sort of make up their numbers, right? So, most of the time it's pretty quiet. We have deck chairs round the back, and we sit out there and we have a few beers and chat about this and that, and then we get a warning that there's players incoming and there's no messing about. Hide the chairs, scoff down the last of the food, and we get to play soldiers. I wonder if these players realise just how much commotion they cause. It's all nice and peaceful down here until they turn up, and all wet behind the ears and waggling their weapon wildly. Anyway, we put on a good show for them, shooting each other and throwing grenades. We need to make it look like we're trying, but really it's only the players who can win the conflict. It's their game after all. Space COD, I think they call it. Or Space Haddock. One of them. Sometimes we need to fall out of vultures. When we're killed, we wait until the players aren't looking, then we go round the back A vulture picks us up, comes overhead, and we jump out and start shooting again. It's sort of like reincarnation, only we do an awful lot of it. Do funny things happen? Yeah, they do. I was finishing my corned beef sandwich this morning when a bunch of players arrived sooner than I was expecting. They vaporised the sandwich in the crossfire. I was a bit upset. Mind you, that's nothing to Terry. Only half of him's rendering today, so he's a sort of half-man, half-existential nightmare. And Jeff over there. His legs have been stuck in that raised platform from the knees down for a couple of days now. I'm not sure it's good for his circulation. Gotta go now. Commander Vante reckons he can solo the base. So we all need to pretend to shoot each other while he gets on with that. I'm not complaining. I could be stuck behind the counter at Apex all day. Think how dull that would be.
And that's this week's Galnet News.
Galnet News. We read the news so you don't have to.
Radio project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the third chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 338 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that surrounds it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix Tafaya, otherwise known as Colin Ford, the Chief Archivist of Lave Station, and joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar for this episode, we have our, as usual, our Head of Health and Safety, Commander Edelweiss, otherwise known as Ben Moss-Woodward.
Give me a second, I'm still warming my bits up for Chris.
Okay. Our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
And, of course, our Staff Liaison, Commander Psychit.
Hello.
Hello. Right, well, we'll, if you wish, you can, are we in somewhere live at the moment, Ben?
As I said, I'm warming my bits up. We will be live, we will be in Odyssey. Other than that, at the moment, I don't know. I'm trying to cook things.
So, well, hopefully you might be able to spot Ben at a point later on.
Yeah.
But if you can't find him in game, you can also join the Twitch chat channel, which you can go through laveradio.com/live, click on the live chat, or go to twitch.tv/laveradio, or you could look up Lave Radio on YouTube or on Facebook, and we will be there. Right, let's quickly go around the crew, see how they've been for the last week or so. So we'll start as Ben is busy stuffing his face. Shan.
Right, what have I been up to this week? Out of game, not very much really, just jam-packed with work. So been super busy in real life, so haven't had a lot of time to do much exploration in this iteration of Odyssey. But what I have done, it's been interesting. Couple of questions though, Colin.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a bounty on killing Ben this week?
Oh, it's up to you, I guess. Can he
Yeah,
hear us?
I don't think we should pay money for people to kill Ben.
Uh-huh.
I think they should just kill him because he's Ben.
Right. Okay.
And also, that was the last controversial thing I'm going to say all episode.
Ooh. Well, there is a interesting point of view. Let's see. Has someone got a timer? We can start the timer. See how long he lasts.
Yeah, I'm on it. It's gonna happen.
Okay. Right, Psychit. How are you, Mr. Purple Tick?
That's me. I've just about recovered. Mal did a very, very sweet thing for me over the weekend that I tweeted a link to that Ben and Colin both contributed to, which was very bloody lovely, and I cried like an idiot on the internet for a fair amount of time, which was great. But I actually managed to venture out of the house today. I know. but I actually went into the house and spoke to a hairdresser, and I'm very excited about it. And that's so lame, being so excited about seeing a hairdresser, but that's my week.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Ben, are you now able to talk?
Oh, I can talk. I wasn't eating. I was just trying to. I had to reboot my PC a couple of seconds ago. Because nothing was streaming to poor Chris.
Oh,
So I was just warming things up for him, and we're nearly there. What have I been up to in the week? I've been Odyssey, Grand Theft Autoing, because of course it's Americans and their backwards date. To them it's 420, and they go and in Grand Theft Auto obviously they go ha 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 too, because that's
Oh,
their kind
why?
of thing.
Why do they make that noise?
Yeah, because 420 is a certain. It goes up in smoke maybe sometimes.
I must admit, it must be going over my head. But then again, they've
Yeah.
got a strange word for the bottom, haven't they?
Do they?
Yeah.
What
We
is
we
that, Colin?
we confuse a rear bottom for a. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there.
Oh, I just wikied it. Ben, that's a little bit naughty to talk about marijuana smoking in
Yes.
America.
But certain games embrace that lifestyle, don't they?
They
And Grand
certainly
Theft
do.
and Grand Theft Auto is definitely one of them.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's basically that's work's been work, life's been life. I've been playing Minecraft with the kids. I've been playing Sea of Thieves with the kids. I haven't been playing Roblox, thank God.
Oh, I
Um,
enjoyed. I loved playing Minecraft with that with the mini Shans when they were younger.
yeah,
I used to because we had the Tech It. Do you know the Tech It mod for
yep, yep,
Minecraft?
yep, yep.
I made traps for them, so I put a little sign up saying "Do not stand
Why?
here,"
Why does this not surprise me?
and then they'd step on it, and it would look like sand, but it wasn't. It was gravel, and then just plop into lava, and then I used to spawn like machine gun nests where they could drop in and get guns and stuff.
What I've mostly been doing is making secret bases where I can actually store my diamonds and things that I care about in, so that my son doesn't go off and raid all my inventory.
Ooh, that's not good. I was tempted to actually raid my son's house in Ark, but I haven't because basically it'd be so much stressful.
You
That'd be,
troll.
that'd be wrong.
Exactly. I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Mind you, he
But
he has.
you thought about it, didn't you?
I thought about it, but I didn't
And
act on
the thought is just as bad as
it.
doing
Oh,
it.
so this is Shan the Thought Police now.
Like, no, no, I'm not being controversial. I'm just saying
Not being controversial. No,
if you
Torquemada,
think
think pure.
something,
Think pure for the Emperor. Is that what we're saying? Um. Oh, damn! You just made me lose my train of thought. Oh, yes, he has managed to total. You know the Xbox commander I had as a sidewinder that was trying to get to Colonia.
Mhm.
Yeah, my son thought, oh, my dad tries this Elite Dangerous thing. I'll give it a go. Oh, what's this sidewinder? Flying about, crash. Oh dear.
Oh no! So your sidewinder is no more.
Yes, the shiny sidey is no more. And anyway, I couldn't play it on that account. Apart from
Yeah.
that, let's see. I went down to see Hesperus. Gasped at the lovely um, Dredger, and I think that's really been about it for me, apart from the mucking about in Odyssey. So, right.
So what was his punishment, Colin, for blowing up your sidewinder you'd particularly spent so long trying to get to Colonia?
Well, like I said, I was tempted to raid his Ark stronghold.
Two wrongs make a right.
um,
Yes.
this is weird. Shan's turning into Kumbaya. Is he gonna get a
I
guitar out?
I
and sing
told
it?
you, I'm not being controversial this week. I'm not being trolly. I'm just pointing out the dents in your morality.
Then from you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. Right. Well, now that we've all caught up with everybody, I think we should have a go at the development news of what's been done this week. Well, obviously on Thursday, Phase 3 launched with lots of patch notes and a massive stream. And obviously, let's get straight into it. We've had 2 hot fixes, and we've had a load of people muck about with it. Right. Let's be honest. Can I have everybody's first reaction of what they thought of the exploration mechanic? And we'll start with Shan, if you can.
Um, what do I think? I don't think anything about it at all, really, which just shows how good it is. I don't know. It just seems such a missed opportunity to make it meaningful in a way. I mean, I watched the Chilling Ants' excellent video
Hmm.
about it. And so if you haven't seen it, go and see it. But he makes a number of really good points about it. Like when you discover a life form, it doesn't give you any information about it at all. It just says you've discovered bum fungus or whatever it's called. It doesn't, and that's such a shame because I think to be fair, if I wanted to go life form exploring, I'd
Yeah,
go to no.
yeah, I can see this comparison coming up quite a lot now. Um, so apart from that, the actual scanning itself, was there anything there that you found positive?
Oh, well, the new planetary surfaces and stuff like that are amazing, and I think it was a yes. I will admit to watching a Yamix video, but he did make a really interesting point. Is if you look at the base of the plants,
Hmm.
they've kind of merged the ground in with the base of the plant, so it looks like the plant is growing out of the ground, and that's all really impressive. So full dues to Frontier for making the life forms look great.
Oh, someone's just cut Shan off, and it wasn't
Sorry,
me.
I'm still here. What was the last thing you said? Oh, yes, it's probably because I missed watching a Yamix video. But he pointed out something that I hadn't actually noticed, was that if you look at the plants, then the base of the plant kind of merges in with the ground a bit.
Hmm.
They're not just, like, plonked on top. It looks like they're coming out of the ground, so I thought that was an amazing piece of detail that is easily missed. So, yeah, I think credit due to that, it was just the genetic sampling bit and all that other stuff around it, I found a bit meh.
Yeah, yeah, quite understandable. Right, Ben, what's your first impression of the exploration mechanics?
Had a lot of problems for identifying what was a suitable first footing planet.
Hmm.
Because I was trying to find, yeah, I was looking for places that are that they don't have first visited by or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I found a bunch of places. This has nobody mapping it or anything it.
Yep.
I can land on it.
Hmm.
I can scan it.
Hmm.
I can get out and I can walk about in it and I can take selfies.
Yep.
But apparently, I'm still not getting any first footing alerts.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Um,
I haven't found any of those either. But
and I know, for example, I know that we don't get them. Let's say we could visit Lave 2.
yeah.
You know, obviously we would not get it in Lave
Hmm.
because people have lived there
Population.
for a long time.
Yes,
Same
population.
idea. We're not going to get it in Sol or something like that. So I was deliberately taking systems that had nobody living in them or anything like that,
Hmm.
and that were away from everybody, and I was still not being given first footing. So I don't know what I've got to do to get it.
Yeah, I must admit, I think a lot of people have had that issue. They're trying to work out what the criteria is for the first foot.
Yeah. Um, I guess we're going to talk about the genetic sampler in a bit, or shall
Hmm.
I bring up my initial impressions of that.
No, I think we'll hold fire on that until everyone's finished, because that, as you have quite rightly pointed out, has been quite controversial.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, Psychit.
Every part of it felt like it was unnecessarily padding the gameplay. Everything felt like it was my initial reactions were a lot to do with the genetic sampler in general.
Yeah.
Just generally disappointed I wasn't that. But
Mhm.
a lot of it felt like when it was being put together, the devs had no faith in the visuals, so they deliberately manipulated the gameplay so that you would have to stay there longer. That was my first impression.
Right, gotcha. Yeah. There was let's see. I mean, I think I think, like Shan says, I was blown away by the visuals when you land
Yeah.
on an atmospheric planet, and you manage to catch the sun right, and you are walking around the plants. It does feel amazing, to be honest. You do feel it has got that Mark Watney, I'm all alone on this planet and I'm going to die soon feel to it, which is kind of what you want. But I guess I do have two major issues with the mechanics that they put in, one of which we will address um, later on. So, just quickly, I mean, does anybody have anything to say about the new suit?
I mean, the jetpack's nice.
It's bouncy, yeah.
It's real bouncy.
You last a bit. The battery power seems to last a bit longer. But apart from that, it's white and it looks nice.
Would be better in orange.
You want it in orange. Of course you'd want it in orange.
I'm still not convinced by the whole suit loadout mechanic, to be fair. I think I'd rather have different size suits have different numbers of slots you can put in whatever
7
you
minutes
like.
and 28 seconds.
What?
What?
That's controversial.
I think it's verging in that direction.
No.
No, that's not controversial. This is an opinion about the suit mechanics. I mean,
Okay.
that's fine by
We're
me.
not, okay.
I didn't
Um,
stop my timer. My timer's still going.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still going.
Anyway,
Don't worry.
I'm not convinced with the suit mechanic. Really, I think they should. Uh, you should have a certain number of slots you can then use for whatever you like. So it's then a choice of how you load your suit out, just the same as it is whether you take a small ship, medium ship, or a large ship to do
Mhm.
stuff. And there are disadvantages with different size suits. I'm not sure I like it being so suit specific, because I still don't get why, if I'm in one suit, I'm not allowed to take a spanner, and another suit I am, so to speak. I just don't get that.
Yeah, and there's been quite a lot of back and forth about the suits maybe having different kind of equipment slots, but you know, um, so a bit like the ships do. So you can swap out your I don't know, your scanner, your cutter for a scanner, and vice versa. But
You can change suit in station now, can't you?
Yeah, they've
yes,
added
you
that.
can. They've added that, yes, which I think is a godsend, because the mucking about with that panel when you're still waiting about it, I find that quite annoying.
So in this case, I think it's a good thing they haven't gone for the more immersive emotes and things like that, because otherwise you'd see people undressing and dressing again in the middle of the concourse.
Don't say things like that. You'll get Ben excited.
He's already excited. I bet he thought it.
Yes, we'll probably come on to that with our community feedback later. Right. So let's see. There's been a phase 3 hot fix. There's been what, 2 of them so far? and they've actually come back with some feedback, because let's be honest, when the genetic sampler was first used by everybody, I have not seen so much grumpiness since I think Multicrew. Do you think that's a fair assumption?
I thought you were going to say watching Waldorf and Stanton on the Muppets.
Oh no, that's a whole. Actually, here's
Butler
something.
Award of.
Yeah,
Here's
I can't remember the names. It's been a while.
how about this? They're not as grumpy as the Elite Dangerous community was. How's that for controversial? Anyway, the genetic sampler. Obviously, there's this mini game. The mini game which has happened, which you've got to match the spinning circles. Apparently, the genetic sampler is actually based on science. I can't remember the exact an acronym or disc that they used, but
Brig.
there you go, Brig. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people were just complaining.
Yeah, it's based on the Comprehensive Resource Analysis Protocol.
There we go. And yeah, people weren't happy with it. Too much spinning discs. I mean, I must admit, I got the hang of it, say, after about 10 minutes, but it still wound me up. Really frustrating. Now, what they have said is that they have replied in the feedback and said, "We have heard you loud and clear about the sampling minigame mechanic and its place within Elite Dangerous. We understand that a manual reactions based minigame is not a good fit in this context and will remove it in time for launch or shortly after. Instead, the tool will take samples automatically. Um, and this means that the circles instead will only appear to indicate the level of sample completion. So basically, you scan it once, you get the outer circle. Scan another one, it's the inner circle, and then finally the center circle's the final scan. I'm assuming so. So good change. What do you think?
No.
No. Okay
Yeah.
then. Jen.
Well, the reason why is the actual mechanic of the spinning wheels and stuff like that, that was completely, I think that was the wrong way to go in terms of mechanics, because it has nothing to do with genetics and has nothing to do with science. It's like it's just a mini game for mini game's sake. What I feel they should have done is based it on taxonomy, where you get genus, species. So basically, if you've discovered a, a cousin, if you like, to the thing you've done, one of the rings is filled in. If you discovered a plant before, one of the rings is filled in. So basically, on however much you explore and discover, is how quickly the scan works. So something to do with science, I think, would have been better. But just having take a picture and automatically do a genetic analysis. I mean, that's tricorder mechanics. You may as well have a little thing
Well,
that
that's what
whistles.
science actually is now, though. They are putting things in and doing DNA sampling on stuff.
I just
It's
think it's
not
a shame.
quite press F to do a DNA scan, but it's basically press F to do a DNA scan. Just
Oh, I
takes a bit
do have
of time.
so it has the information there revealed has led me to a tinfoil hat theory, where he says
Oh,
something. Well, Frontier said there are 4 times the current number of life forms in Odyssey that there
yes.
were in Horizons. So, according to the Codex, there are 41 plants that have been discovered so far. So, if you multiply that by 4, there's 164 life forms to be discovered, at least.
Right.
So, in a whole galaxy, only having 164 life forms, well, see, that doesn't point to evolution. That points to intelligent design. So, so, so if you remember your science fiction, there was quite a number of books and shows and stuff that talk about a progenitor species that
Mhm.
seed the galaxy, and that's why all humanoids look. That's in Star Trek look humanoids because they come from. So I think there's a progenitor species out there, and that's why we've only got 164 life forms in 400 billion star systems.
Okay. Psych it.
I got nothing to that. Uh, uh, I really, really hated it. Just like what I was saying before about like padding, unnecessary padding for the mini game. However, thinking now back on it, what I would like to see is something that you could maybe go and sample some bits and pieces and then go and pick up something at your ship. Or go and do something at your ship which would allow you like some kind of mini game, some kind of sciency type thing, which would allow you to sequence or analyze the genome that you have and put it into a category, in a bit of the same way that the DSS module um, gives you like extra revenue or return from your exploration. It's optional. In a bit of the same way that like maybe an analysis module that you could put in your ship would give you more of a return on the samples that you pick up. Just keeping it within the same theming as current exploration is.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. Right, Ben.
Like, one thing I think we've not really covered really is the whole mini game thing anyway. I mean, I personally find mini games in Mass Effect and Skyrim, in basically every game I've played that's got that idea. The first couple of times it's okay, this is kind of fun. And then it's just like, oh geez, can I not skip this now?
Yeah, the Mass Effect hacking one on Mass Effect 2 got my
Oh,
number then.
yeah. I mean, I actually liked what Fallout did with if you put enough points into intelligence, you could basically, okay, I am a god at intelligence, and I just see all the patterns, and I can now just press whatever it is to hack the thing, and it just auto hacks it.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciated that in Fallout, but we couldn't do that in Mass Effect.
No.
I'm not a massive fan in Elite of the mining mini games that we have.
I think they were okay. I think the mining games are certainly a heck of a lot better than the
They're better than
genetics
the genetics one, but I'm not a fan of them. So that automatically biases me against what was being offered with the genetic sampler anyway. And I'm far happier with press F to scan, and I'm now being interdicted, but I don't have anything on me, so that's fine.
As long
Unless
as
it's
it's not a
human.
human player, because
It might well be a human. I'm just
say Shan
what have I?
calling for his death already. Oh, Shan.
Yeah, I was just picking up on what Psychic said about this sort of science lab idea. What they should do is they should fall back on the tried and trusted mechanic that you see people do in films and everywhere. Basically, if they want to know what something is, they pick it up and they lick it, and they go, "Oh, it's one of those." So that's what you should do. You should lick space plants.
What you mean? Just smash the space plant through your helmet?
Or just flip your visor up and lick it.
Psychic. Have you got anything to say about this manic?
No,
No?
no, I haven't. But I do have something to say about the mining mini game versus the exobiology mini game thing, because you can choose not to do the mining mini game and still gain rank in trade. From what we can see, you had to do the exobiology thing or the sampling to gain rank in exobiology. So for a
Yeah,
lot of people that I spoke to, it felt like that was it. It was completely gated off for them. I know it's
this
been
is.
changed, but,
Keep
but I
finish your point.
yeah, I know it's been changed, but at the time there was like this big wave of disappointment, especially that in itself was entire like like when the first time I came on, I had a rant about color blindness and
Oh
all of
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I went off on one. I am hugely about accessibility and all of that sort of stuff, and for Frontier to be working with special effect and to have put something in the game that is that inaccessible,
Hmm.
that is a big red flag for me.
Yeah.
And I was super disappointed.
Yes. Right. Well, moving on from.
Can I
Oh,
come on to
go
my
on, yeah.
point now then? So
Yes.
yeah,
Sorry.
I'm 100% with you there. I think one of the things I feel is a lot of people who do exploring are more into the more casual gameplay, shall we say. And all of a sudden giving people who maybe only can do casual gameplay suddenly having to do this quick time event felt like it's literally trying to change the game for them, and in a way that's blocking them off from doing the kind of gameplay that they enjoy. And so I think for that kind of person, I think having it removed is a good thing. Now, I'm okay. I would love it to be removed, to be swapped out at some point with some kind of puzzle-based mechanic. We've seen examples of that people have mocked up. However you decide you want to do it. Whether it's Shan's idea of licking the rock, because licking plants is probably a bad idea. I think, whether or not
Not
you're in a
Shan.
router vacuum.
I pay good money to see Shan lick a rock at the moment.
Or certain mushrooms.
Shan, your turn.
On the exploration topic, I was thinking about this today. Is that while I'm exploring, I have a rough area of the galaxy I sort of want to go to or head towards,
Mhm.
and really I want to have a reason to go and visit a planet, and then especially land on it, and then especially walk around on it.
Yes. Yeah.
So if there are only at least 164 things to discover, for me personally, that isn't enough of a motivation to take time out from jumping to where I want to head to landing on the planet, walking around, and that. I just kind of I want a reason to get out of my ship. I want a reason to land on a planet, whether it's scenery or something strange there. I just don't feel that is in Odyssey at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Ben, you want to talk about the fact that plants aren't procedurally generated?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of what is David Braben famous for, if not procedurally generated content? Then why the heck we only have 164, if that, kind of specific models, and not 164 levers that can be manipulated based on the components in the planet, the components in the atmosphere, the levels of sunlight, and so on. Why? And yeah, sure, that might mean that everything's basically some kind of alien moss. Who knows? But why we have all these fixed structures instead of procedurally generated biodiversity basics, I don't know. And I think it's a real shame that we're missing out on David Braben's proc gen art that he is so capable of doing.
Shan.
To be fair, I'm trying to be neutral and non-controversial today. So to be fair, the 164 is just a guess based on a codex, and there may be more, way more than we are aware of. So I'm just putting a note of caution there. But regarding proc gen, the difficulty with proc gen is if you're not too careful, you end up with the No Man's Sky
Yeah.
um, animal and plant models where everything can be related to various organs. And yes and no, we've got bum fungus and stuff like that at the moment, but do you want to swap a bum fungus with front fungus, for example? It's you have to be really careful with prot gen because it has to be done absolutely spot on. Otherwise, it looks worse than just having the same cactus again and again and again.
Right. Well, they've actually responded to this idea of a alternative sample puzzle that people have requesting. Their response to this was, "We've seen the requests for a puzzle-based replacement, but concluded from feedback that having a mini game to take actual samples is providing unnecessary friction. Um, we understand some players would have preferred to keep the mini game. I'd, I'd like to know who, and have it adjusted, but we
At the
can't."
risk of naming one person out, I know one person who is in favour of the minigame, and that's Osric. Osric definitely feels that something's been removed from the game by him not having the minigame.
Oh. The majority of the feedback pointed to the conclusion that the exobiology game loop didn't benefit from the minigame at the sampling stage. So if that's it, if they said, right, they're not going to rework it as a puzzle, I think they've knocked that one on the head. I think it's also far too late in the day to actually come up with a new one, especially before release.
So what do you think they should have done then? Because I mean, I say personally, I'm sad that middle gap between just taking a photograph and
Hmm.
what we had is, something I think skill based or more interesting than just spinning a wheel. I think should have been there. But if you ask me what should have replaced it, I kind of can't really put a finger on it, and that may be the point they're trying to make.
Yeah,
But I don't know, just sort of somehow taking a picture of it and go, there we go, there's that. Just seems a bit, I don't know, anticlimactic.
Okay, can I be controversial Ben today then instead of controversial Shan?
certainly. It should
Oh,
be good.
what they should have done, Shan, is actually put some effort into the design of it. And they maybe thought about certain things like, yeah, this is maybe can't be done for various reasons. Maybe remember that people can be colorblind. Um, there are a lot of ways that some kind of genetic scanning minigame could be portrayed that do not limit who can play them. Unfortunately, Frontier didn't think of any of those. And so we've wound up in a situation where we've got 4 weeks roughly to do things. In which case, then the only answer that can be done in time is bye bye.
True. Chan.
Yeah, just going on what Ben was saying, and again, I'm not being controversial here because I could have made all sorts of horrible comments about not designing it and stuff like that. I just think it's a shame they didn't look at what other games did and what people enjoyed about other games, and either copied it or took the idea and ran with it. Because the exploration bit, I think, is what a lot of in quotes traditional elite players were really looking forward to. And if you like, it was the other side of the scale between the full out FPS pew pew and those who like the more sort of gentle scientific bit. And we talk about proc gen plants. I mean, if you remember in the original Elite, each planet had its own little procedure generate description. Like Lave is the home of the little cat people or whatever it was, that have a little bit of snippet like that about it. So why couldn't they have done something? So even if the model looked the same, procedurally generate some text around it to make it seem more interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that I've that's also been highlighted by, I think Obsidian Ant actually touched on it quite well. The fact that when you scan it, that's it, you just get your name, and that was it. I mean, I was hoping for maybe some kind of harvesting mechanic as well, so that you know these plants could be harvested for mats or even commodities. But that didn't seem to be even anywhere on the cards. Psychic.
I would have liked a harvesting mechanic had there been a benefit to it. Say, for example, you could have got maybe um, instead of having to pick 3 sections, you could get maybe 1 or 2, depending on how quickly or how well you complete the harvesting mechanic.
And by harvesting, you mean licking, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, licking.
So basically, Shan's now got Psychic licking strange
No,
plants.
absolutely not. That was not steeped enough in sarcasm.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'd like to move on to obviously the DSS, or the planetary scanner. Now, this is quite controversial because of the colours involved. And yeah, they've said the following: we have received many reports about planets being highlighted entirely in green by the detailed surface scanner. It is a known issue resulting from the new planetary tech not being in its final state. This is unlikely to be fully resolved during the alpha, but it will be fixed in time for launch when the planetary tech changes are final. Yeah, the fact that everything just goes completely sort of limey green, and you've got to look for different patches. I mean, I had no problem finding where the big patches were. The problem I had was when I got down to a certain level, the draw distance for the plants was that far away from me. I was flying at about 25 meters above the ground, and I still wasn't seeing anything. I was finding that really, really difficult. Has anybody else had that kind of problem?
Not really, but then I've got a reasonable graphics card.
Shan, a 3080 is beyond reasonable, mate.
Modest. Can I just say something about the colours and all that sort of stuff? Am I allowed to?
Certainly. Let's go for it.
Um, I've been using the new UI since the alpha, and I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a chance to because it's new and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
the whole purpose of a user interface change is to make it easier to do things in less clicks or whatever. They've done the opposite of that, and they've made it worse to use with all the different clicks and stuff like that. And I really feel, and hopefully Psyche, this will trigger her so she can be controversial rather than me, but I would have hoped they would have focused more on accessibility, more on colorblind stuff like that, than changing up than having 10 clicks to do what used to take two. I mean, the whole green planet thing with blue highlight. I mean, anyone with a bit of sense was like, oh, blue and green together, they go well, don't they? You know, I just don't get it. Have they got no one there who thinks about usability and accessibility?
Okay, Psychic, join in.
Just hire an accessibility consultant. These people exist. Hire somebody to like play your game and objectively from an accessibility point of view. There has to have been there has to have been someone who was colorblind while they were playing it. There has to. It boggles my mind that there wasn't. It really bothers me. It is a role that they obviously need because it is so missing. I'm just really upset. I'm really disappointed. More than anything else, this is the hill that I am more than prepared to die on. And it is not just a case of oh well, don't play a game, which I've seen, which I've genuinely seen. Oh well, if it's got big flashing lights in it, don't play it if you're photosensitive. Don't play it if it gives you migraines. No,
Yeah.
no, there should be options for you to adjust that.
Yep, and I completely agree because, um, I mean, I'm a fan of the DSS scanner. So the you know the new, well, the beyond scanning mechanics, if you like. But of course, I didn't realize that the flashing blue pulsing lights that happen when you're in the scanner, I didn't realize that that actually triggers people's headaches with people, or the fact that well, I don't think anyone's complained about a seizure, but I do know Turgeon is basically doesn't play it as much because effectively it does his head in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's
My
never
hu-
been anything to switch it off.
yeah, my husband has epilepsy. Um, and thank God it's not photosensitive epilepsy. But we play a lot of this game together, and we both really enjoy this game. And it isn't a case of oh well, we'll just turn it off or anything like that. These are things that are super close to home for me that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Right. Well, has anybody got any final points to say about the phase 3 so far?
Sorry, I was going to just follow up from what
Oh,
Simon
go on.
was saying,
Sorry.
and completely agree with it. Is that I understand development time is precious, and UI design is precious, and they put an awful lot of space and time into redesigning it. And I just don't understand what was so broken about the previous UI. They had to change everything,
Oh,
and
is this for the galaxy map and the system?
well, but also the loadout thing. I now have to count dots to work out what class something is. It just seems a change your sake. And if they're going to spend effort in doing something, as Psychic said, it should have been around making it easier, making it more friendly to use, and not at risk of giving people headaches or triggering an epileptic episode. I just don't understand how something that any organization, whether they do games or whether they do normal software, has to take into account accessibility. It's just good practice, and I don't understand why it's not been done here.
Right. Okay.
I have one possible answer to that,
Um,
Shan.
go on.
Um, so, Orange Sidewinder is saying, I'm not colorblind, but I have awful eyesight. Think Penfold. I can read the labels in things now. So you can actually read the UI. So I guess that's a potential benefit if I'm reading Orange Sidewinder correctly.
Well, move your head
And
closer to the screen.
Katiana also apparently prefers the new UI.
Yeah, I must admit, um, there are bits in the new UI which mostly around the galaxy map and the system map I really like. I'm think I'm with you about the outfitting, but the rest of the actual design of the new system menus, I think I quite like that. I think the only thing I don't like from the new perspective is the outfitting. Um, we're just going to touch on something. We've had some comments about the scanner. So we've had Mal for the win. Wonder who he is. Sound familiar to anyone? Um, he said that they could have looked into their own exploration mechanics, honk scan, FSS tuning, uh, a mini game to determine biochemical diet composition. This would have the same style. That would have been great. And a detailed sampling or prospector mechanic. And we've had Tesnick about how about don't restrict the ability to scan plants right next to each other. Instead, introduce a diversity rating after the first scan that will determine how valuable the scan is. You could burn your last sample if it's poor and sample again. Diversity can be based on things like distance and growth stage, etc. Higher diversity equals higher payout. So, yeah, it's. I mean, they're good suggestions, but like I said, they're not going to. They're just going to take them out, though, aren't they? Um, Rob, we'll go with Psychic first, and then back to Shan for more UI stuff.
The UI in the stations, um, the outfitting, that was the one that you said you didn't like. Is that right?
Yeah, that's everything else. I'm really quite happy with because it reminds me of the fleet carriers.
Yeah, that I like the fact that it is all combined now, and everything sort of matches up, and it's great for me anyway. I really like that. The UI in the outfitting, if that ship loadouts, if I could set particular loadouts for my ship and then store them in there and then click on them to apply it in the same way that we can do that for suits, then I am all for it in that little loadout section. Um, if not, I am finding it a little bit confusing because it's like you can get to the same spot in two different spaces.
Yes, yeah. Shan,
Yeah, going to the UI again. Although in fairness, they have now adjusted the wheel of prevarication, haven't they? Inside the suit, they've changed the way you highlight and select energy kits and stuff like that in that. But I don't know. It just seems like they haven't tried a usability test on it. The fact it's not a hotkey to use your med kit or something. Also in the galaxy map as well, you used to be able to click on a planet, see what was in it, see everything about it. Now there's a little window at the top that contains it, and it just seems to be fragmented. And there's Bopper PSN said in chat, the new UI reminds them of Windows 8, and it absolutely does. It's Windows 8.
Oh dear. Oh, that's could be worse. Could be Vista. Anyway, yeah. So overall, I mean, has there been anything that you have discovered in the last week since Phase 4 that has been more positive for you? Ben?
Star Citizen Alpha 3.13 came out.
Oh, burn. Were we running a controversial Ben thing? I thought
Well,
I thought we
somebody's
were,
got to be.
I thought we weren't going to be swearing like that. Jeez. Okay. We'll move on to Psychic. Has there been anything that you found positive? And don't say No Man's Sky release.
No, I certainly won't. I really liked just the fauna, the flora and the fauna, or like on the planets. I thought it looked really pretty. It made my PC chug,
Oh,
like.
yes.
But it's alpha, so I'm expecting optimate I'm expecting
That's right.
optimization. But it did make my PC chug, but I thought it was really pretty. But I couldn't really enjoy it that much because I was stuck behind that chuffing mini game, which isn't there anymore, so it's fine.
Oh, well, it's still there.
Well,
But
it's still there, but I ain't touching it until it's gone.
that is a very good point. Shan, was there anything that you found this week that you thought, oh yes, I'm quite happy now?
The planets look pretty.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you one thing that I found. Shall I? Um, I've done a couple of salvaging missions, but this is the first time I came across one where there was an actual ship. And I didn't realize this, but if you find a ship on the ground that obviously pirates have shot the pilot already and are trying to take it over, if you take out the pilots, the pirates that are running around next to this ship, I walked around underneath and I thought there are access panels there. I got the cutter out, cut them open, and it was full of goodies. Oh, I thought that was awesome.
What sweet?
Yeah, well, full of materials for your
Oh,
suits.
it's like a Cobra pinata.
Yeah, basically. Well, in my case, it was an eagle pinata, but I thought,
But
oh,
did you test the power cells by licking them? Like you do.
uh, no, but yeah, I found that to be a very interesting little mission to run. Although they still haven't fixed the blooming satellite panel that won't fall out of its place when you cut it. I hope that gets fixed because
Oh, the tin lid that falls into your soup and you can't get out.
yeah, that kind of thing. That's just annoying. So, right. Well, if that's the case, we'll take a little break and then we'll come back with what's been happening this week.
Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
So, what has been happening this week? Well, we've had quite a few little incidents. We've had on the 13th of April, the federal reactions have been to the communication surveillance program. So, effectively, the feds are under Big Brother's eye at the moment. There is a community goal for Akron Delaney's campaign to build new starports. So it's the usual take loads of stuff to his stations, and also shoot down any bad guys around that area to make sure that the traders get through. The Neo-Marlinists that got defeated last week are now seeking sanctuary in the Marlinist colonies. That was a bit of a surprise. And finally, we have the Adamansta Enigma. Now, this is continuing on from the discovery of the Hesperus. There you are. Got it out eventually. There may be more to come, is the best way to put it. And of course, the Marlinists are actually being accepted into the Marlinist colonies, but only after a stringent screening process, so that they can try and find Theta 7 or the rest of those mad bombers. So how do you think the story has played out this week? Has it kept your interest, Shan?
I think
Jolly
Shan's
lovely
on push to
silence.
listen.
Okay, we obviously.
Sorry, I am here. Sorry, I changed the sensitivity on my mouse. It changed the push to talk keybinds. Since I'm not being controversial this week, I'm going to give a single word answer to whether the story has gripped me or not, and my single word answer is no.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Anybody else been following the story?
I have.
Yeah.
I've been sorry, go Psycho.
I'm really interested in it. I don't think they're going to find Theta 7 by any possibility. Through doing that, he's long gone. But I have enjoyed seeing it. Frontier did a tweet that was in relation to the Adamaster
Yeah.
stuff that's been going on recently. That was certainly hinted at more to come in the imminent future, which is quite exciting. I think it's good to have these events that are actually driving the story forward.
Yeah. Ben.
Yeah, I was basically about to say same as Psychic there, so completely and utterly agree with that. And I've been loving Garnet News's take on it as well.
Yeah, there was a tweet that came, I think on Monday, that said that the Hesperus and the space dredger weren't going to be there. They kind of dropped a hint that they weren't going to be there for much longer. So I reckon you've got till about maybe Thursday if you want to have a look. Shan.
Did anyone else feel that Pete Wotherspoon and Jude's Galnet News should become the official news source for Frontier? Really dangerous. Rather than Frontier having
I felt
resources
that
and
for
right,
years.
I think they should just I think it just should be it'd be well funny and well more interesting.
Yes, well, as hopefully we will have a Galnet news for everybody at the end of this episode, but we'll just put an extra little bit of a plug here. So,
And actually, sorry, Colin, I was about to say, for that little shout out, I'm expecting a Christmas card from Wotherspoon. Okay.
a Christmas, or maybe even a Galnet story about how nice Commander Shan is. Get your propaganda.
No, what? No, because they wouldn't believe it. You don't even believe I'm nice, so why would anyone else?
Well, I'm afraid, everybody, it's that time of the week again.
Store alert!
In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a
Well, Store Alert number 117 came out this week, and if you're a fan of the Imperial Courier, they have put the Predator skins on the Imperial Courier. Kind of, yes. Not my favourite skin on one of my favourite ships, I'm afraid to say. Anybody else got any thoughts?
I'm in the other direction. I love it. I love that
the
skin. I
Predator
think it's,
skin.
yeah.
Word Predator and Imperial Courier aren't often seen together, are they?
They're not, but it looks sexy.
I was just thinking with the Store Alert song, though, we need to put the fish dance to it.
The fish dance to it?
Yeah, when it's on the show, when we stream it, we should put the fish dance to the Store Alert song.
But it's all out of time.
I don't care.
What, are you saying that we need to come up with a new dance to go with the Store Alert?
Yeah, Ben the Psychic. There you go. Strictly comes Store Alert.
I think if you want to dance for the Store Alert, Shat,
dance.
you dance for the Store Alert. None of us will stop you. You can get up on your camera and record it, and we will play it.
Well, actually, I think it should be Sovereign because he's got the.
No.
Yeah,
You're volunteering someone to do this. I think you should do it. Sorry.
We'll see at LaveCon.
Yes, dance to premiere at LaveCon. So there you have. You've got Sovereign walking down to his brand new theme tune, and we'll have
and Shan's dancing to it.
Shan doing a funky bop after coming down to it.
Not really a funky bop.
Shan can do the Zola dance to it.
Zola dance.
I must admit, I'm stuck on that one as well. What is the Zola dance?
From Falcon and Winter Soldier. If you've not seen it, they go to a nightclub and Zola basically doesn't fit in, but it's very funny.
Just like me.
Zemo. You mean Zemo?
Oh, Zemo dad. Sorry, not Zola. Zola's. Yeah, sorry, Zemo. You're right.
And he has a nerve to complain about my pronunciation.
It wasn't pronunciation. It was wrong.
Wasn't that the name of a stripper or something, Ben? You were talking about the other day.
Might have been a stripper name. No, isn't Zola's the German scientist, isn't he?
I don't know.
Zemo's the other guy. Yeah, anyway. He might be dead, but he might be a robot now. Who knows?
Anyway, we've got to move on. Otherwise, liking Marvel films is people thinks I've got a personality next. Right.
God, hang on. I've got one thing I have to add. I'm sorry, Colin. Bopper is saying Sovereign needs to be wearing a grass skirt for it.
Oh.
All I can say is better Suv in a grass skirt than Shan or
Colin. Actually, Colin's got the figure for a grass skirt, so yeah.
Colin has. I don't.
Dear listener, this is the point of the show where I normally I've lost control. So
I can just see Colin wearing like a coconut bra in a grass skirt.
Yeah, but I would need a coconut bra.
Right, quick, go to an ad break. Cut this now.
I spend so much time in my Imperial Trader, I find it really hard to meet people.
I mean, when do you get the time to go to bars when you're taking on courier jobs for the military?
But with VenusDating.com, it was so simple. I just put in my personal details and they found me my perfect match.
I really thought it would be difficult, but Venus Dating made it so simple. With so much in common.
We both like movies, walking along the beach at sunset,
browsing Imperial shipyards.
And of course, since we started dating, we've discovered that we both really love shooting Thargoids. Let your voyage begin with VenusDating.com for every first encounter.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, We will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of Supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
Are you struggling with paying fines? Do you lose sleep in hyperspace worrying about docking at the next space station? If the answer is yes, then you need to call Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services.
I got scanned while in Federation space and was caught carrying slaves. It was an unexpected expense that I couldn't afford on top of my fines for damage caused whilst docking.
We can help you consolidate all your existing fines into a single large fine, payable in regular instalments at what is almost a competitive interest rate.
I called Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services, and they helped me pay my existing fines before I got a bounty on my head. They really saved my life.
At Cowell & McGrath, we've helped thousands of pilots whose fines had spiralled out of control.
I dared not go near a police star system. Got so desperate that I'd almost resigned myself to a life of piracy. Luckily, I found Cowell & McGrath Services before I actually murdered anyone in cold blood.
No fines too big, no criminal record too damning. We're here to help you, no questions asked. Find us in the Lave business directory.
I'd got into debt as a result of a massive counter lawsuit by Watt and Prittney. It happened because I'd taken advice on Python protection insurance from... Wait a minute! It was you!
Cowell & McGrath. Minimum liability, zero accountability. Warning.
Lave Radio. Transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
And welcome back. Now, as you've probably heard, we have been a little, well, harsh, or would you say constructively? Well, yeah, okay. We've been harsh about the exploration mechanics that have been unleashed so far in Phase 3. So we thought we'd try to turn this on its head and try and work out if there's anything they could, anywhere they could take it, which would get you a little bit more excited than where we were before. Shan, you seem to have you said you had a little bit of an issue trying to come up with any alternatives.
Well, I was trying to think about a meaningful replacement to the minigame, in that on the one side, I don't like the idea of taking a photograph of it and, oh, it's one of those. On the other side, I would want whatever mechanic it is to be relevant to genetic sampling and the science. So somewhere in the middle there, I think there is something that's both fun and interesting. Because remember, you're going to have to do this quite a lot of times. It's going to get repetitive if it's just the same old thing all the time. And that was with the semi-seriousness suggestion of actually taking a sample of it. And as I said, maybe bringing it back to your ship, or you could shoot a bit off with your laser or a Dyson multi-tool or something like that. That you would naturally try and do if you were trying to classify something genetically, because I think it's Stephen Usher said in the chat earlier that you would have to start almost from scratch each time if you didn't know what it was. But you can use taxonomy to work out what family, what genus, what kingdom, etc., what species an item belongs to, just simply by looking at its genetic code. It's the same as COVID-19. The reason why we know it's a coronavirus is because it shares genetic similarities with other coronaviruses. So having that kind of sampling ability and being able to cross-reference it with stuff you've already done before would, I think, make it more of a sciencey sort of exercise than trying to line the dials up.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Ben, do you have any thoughts on this matter?
And yeah, I agree with what Shan's saying about the using prior knowledge to do things. Where I would probably start is investigate how we determine sort of DNA and all that kind of stuff in real life, and then see how I could gamify it. If I could gamify it, I'm playing everything through my I don't like mini games thing, and I'm trying to think what would I like to do. So it's not actually mini game for mini game's sake. It's meaningful content that I'm looking for and trying to identify and trying to size the shit out of this plant. And yeah, sort of saying, okay, well, it looks a bit like fungus, but these things are different and those things are different, and that maybe that would count.
So would
And
you try and
the more you could identify, and the more work that you did up front would mean the better the payout that Vista Genomics would give you. Vista Genetics, sorry.
so have something like where you let's say you discover a plant and that reveals a certain set of plant chromosomes. So when you're presented with it, you think, oh, okay, I know what those chromosomes are of plants, and then you basically almost have a mechanic where you match the chromosomes up and the genetic, A, T, G, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing to make it more sciencey based on what you've already known. I don't know, we're just spitballing here.
Yeah, I mean, possibly is the short version. Obviously, you don't want to do something that's going to require you to take 4 years of university degree just to get the gameplay of it.
Yeah, too much science, not enough fun. Stike it.
Yeah.
Yes to all of these suggestions. It's very positive, and it's a really good idea. However, I like making that an optional thing to do, so you can grab a couple of samples from a plant and take it back, and that's gonna net you an X amount of revenue. However, if you either take it back to the concourse or there is a module in your ship that you can use to like as an analysis lab or something like that, where you have the little interface on the screen where you can do this matching up thing, then there's your benefit to having a ship and flying around and doing it on a ship rather than being an apex explorer, although I don't really see how that would really work. But being able to do that and then net yourself more of a revenue, just like Ben said.
Shan?
Yeah, I just want to pick up on a sentiment that was in live chat where Bopper PSN said he feels sorry for the poor devs who spent coding and testing it and then only to have it taken away. And I do feel for them having to sort of put all this effort into it. Then they get a storm of criticism and go, "Now we're taking it out." So if there was a way stuff they've done can be reused in some way and maybe changed, I think I'd prefer that than rather just saying no. What you spent the last X amounts of months doing doesn't count. Off it
I
goes.
completely agree with you. We talked about that earlier today. Just about how like I also feel incredibly gutted about for the poor people who have genuinely been working on this and who for some reason thought that it was a good idea. But yeah, I'd love to see that sort of mechanic, but used differently. Like even if you're just like a lot of people talked about there was that thing that was making the rounds of the different a bit Tetrisy, but you're turning it manually and then finding the right spot for it, and then turning it manually and finding the right spot for it again. If they could implement that like on a ship as an extra thing to do, I think that'd be really cool.
You think they'll put something like it back in again? Like, remember the engineering used to have the casino wheel, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
No one really liked the casino wheel, and eventually they changed it. Do you think this is something they'll look at what they can salvage and rework it, and then put it back in again.
I'd like to see something implemented along the lines of when the DSS was implemented. DSS and the FSS came in, and it completely changed the way that we do exploration. You could take the mini game away and then add it again as an optional module in a slightly different format that's more accessible, and then you're still using that those mechanics which have been those sort of mechanics that have already been worked on.
In my adult brain, I still have this picture of this tongue flicking out of a spacesuit and then licking it and saying, "Oh, it's one of these." But yeah, I think
maybe that's what you need. We need the Shan artificial tongue. It licks rocks so you don't have to.
Wow.
Well, being serious, I think we're in general agreement that it needs to be something more than just take a picture and there you go.
Yeah.
Because I really feel sorry for the devs who worked on this and stuff. But then I suppose being a bit cold-hearted about it, the finger should point back to the designer who thought we need to do it like this. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
being
mean, a
disingenuous.
lot of development is feedback based as well. So there's nothing to say it's not something that they're already used to. I'm very surprised that it got pushed out in the first place. It feels completely out of tune with everything else. I know that the mining subsurface mini game has got a little bit of timing with it, but there's still that
Maybe they just thought we'd take a flyer. We'll just try it and see what happens. Maybe
yeah, I suppose.
it's we just put it in. We'll see if they like it and see if they don't. And if they don't, we'll go and rework it. Maybe it's just something as simple as that. It's user acceptance testing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, what do people think about maybe adding a harvesting mechanic where, it's either becomes a wanted commodity or for materials?
Do you think they should put a crafting part in it? I mean, like for you, Colin, you could go out, you could see the cactus feature, you could harvest a cactus and then turn it into a space cactus bra for your straw skirt or something.
I was really panicking where you were going, and I was right to panic. Yeah, I mean, no. Let's be let's be honest. We're not going the full No Man's Sky kind of crafting here because they've said that's not their kind of the kind of thing that they wanted to do. What was on
No, but
about?
it does motivate players, though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it does motivate players, but you need that opens up the whole base building stuff as well, which can lead to trouble. Although, if you think about it, I mean, you could get two things together, create some kind of compound, and then sell that. But
Make
yeah,
your own materials instead of you could almost be your own material broker if you got the elements that made up this particular material. Then could you not get them and then combine them yourself in your ship to make the material? I know we sort of do that with synthesis, but we don't. We don't in ourselves. We don't take chemical distilleries, mix them together in some sort of stew, and get a chemical manipulator out of it. That sort of crafting is what I'm talking about. So we don't necessarily need to have the material traders unless we need them to.
oh right. So basically, say for instance, you need something for that laser that you need, and so you find a couple of crystals, grind them together, and hey presto, you've got the focus crystal that you've always wanted.
Yeah, science traps.
Yeah, Ben.
Shan, you can take your crafting and you can shove it where the sun doesn't shine.
That'd be the dark side of the planet, or the dark
Yes.
side of your moon.
Why is that then, Ben?
Because crafting sucks me donkey balls. That's why.
So I didn't quite understand the meaning of that, Ben. Can you say it
Crafting
simply,
sucks
please?
ass. I hate crafting. It is shit. Please no. Fuck no. 9. No. Niet.
So
No.
I wish there was some way that you could be like a little bit clearer about your feelings about this, Ben.
You know what? Actually, maybe it's a good idea.
In all seriousness, Ben, could you say a reason why being able to fabricate your own materials instead of a material broker, you wouldn't like that?
Because I hate crafting in games in general. I hated crafting in Warcraft. I hated crafting in MMO, in multiplayer dungeon things back in text-based stuff. I have never found it an engaging mechanic, and I've hated games which have made me do it.
Have you engineered your ships much?
Yes, and I hate that as well. I hate
Big
feeling
grin.
in a position that I have to do a area of the gameplay that I dislike in order to be competitive.
You are the Grinch who stole engineers, aren't you, Ben?
Well,
What?
let's be fair. Both me and we had really, really bad experiences with engineering right to start with. Don't think we managed to get anything decent in the RNG, while everybody else seemed to be getting tons and tons of stuff.
Oh, I got some great stuff, yeah.
I know you got some great stuff. Did we?
The RNG times were the dark times for us all,
Oh
though.
god, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the engineering became okayable just
Yeah, I think they fixed it
with
beyond.
the thing. But even then, I've still not gotten, rank 5 and everything, because I can't be asked going out collecting all that shit.
Yeah, I must admit, there's still about 2 or 3 engineers I just can't be
Yeah,
bothered.
it's just, let me find a spoon and scoop my eyes out with it. That's how I feel about it.
It'll be an alternate, not an instead of. But as I say, we're just looking at stuff to do with the plants and stuff we find on the planets, I guess.
Like,
Yeah,
let's
I will happily sell them, and I would, being serious actually, if I stumble across a plant, I would very happily shove it up on an auction house and let you buy it from me for 1 billion credits.
Tells weed.
I would happily put it up on a yeah. I mean, I'm in favor of auction houses and things like that, and if I can buy various chemicals that you've manufactured, Shan, I will do that. If I can sell you, if I stumble across the raw materials and sell them, and then you can buy them and craft them, I'm okay with that.
Are you inferring I am elite version of Walter White?
You might well be. Yeah, I can see that happening.
So there we have an image of Shan in a Type 7 cooking meth.
You wouldn't be in a Lacon.
No, it won't be a lake. You know, a Lacon is the single most inconspicuous ship in the galaxy. So, yeah, it is the equivalent of the RV in Breaking Bad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And the fact that you'd be in it would just sort of try and throw everybody off the scent, wouldn't it?
And I'd have crew members to test the meth on. Yep, okay, go that.
And once again,
Tatiana is saying she should be able to buy our ships engineered or buy pre-engineered. Yeah, I'd be all right with being able to buy a pre-engineered module only from Liz Rider or something like that. I'd be all right with that.
We can buy some from tech brokers already.
Yeah, but if I could buy a fully engineered multi-cannon from Todd the Blaster or something like that, I think that's a great idea. I would happily pay over the odds for that.
Exploration, then.
Yes.
I said earlier I really like the planet tech and things like that.
I love the planet tech. Yes.
The thing I've noticed is the planets have got awfully bumpy. Do you think that's helpful, or would you want flatter spots? Because I mean, it's good to have terrain, but it almost feels like it's you're trying to drive an SRV over one of Mrs. Shan's Yorkshire puddings.
No, I want a speeder bike.
Yeah, you basically want one of those skimmers, really, don't you? You want one of those skimmers with a little pod on the top.
I would be delighted with that.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm having trouble with the SRV. Is anybody else with the new planetary surface?
Yes.
How long have you managed to keep yours alive for? Because I think mine lasts about 5 minutes.
On Saturday, Mal and I took part in the first the elite racers set up a race in Alpha to drive. One person was in the SLV and one was in a Cobra.
Mhm.
And there were quite a few teams, and the game chugged so much when so many people got together, which you can expect because it's alpha and all of that. That's fine. But I was having different rocks spawn in front of me to what Mal was seeing.
Oh dear.
And that is problematic when you're going very fast. And the whole idea is that I say very fast. I was going sort of fast, but we gave up after about an hour.
Right.
And it was tricky. It was very, very tricky. It's difficult when things spawn just out of the blue. There were rocks spawning directly in front of me, and these were big rocks that I couldn't like quickly boost and get around. So I understand now potentially why they changed a lot of the SRV mechanics.
Yes, that I mean, I must admit, I took my SRV out while doing a couple of these scavenger runs. Oh, actually, no, it was I was looking for life, and there I saw this red patch over in the distance. I thought, oh, I'll just drive there with the SRV. Almost didn't make it. My SRV was at about 20% by the time I got where I was going, and at the end of all that, um, there wasn't any life there, which just a red patch on the ground, which is yay. So
Yeah, Shoutouts in chat is just a reminder that Dr. K mentioned that the newer planet texture is supposed to reduce the random distribution of rocks. So it's supposed in the final version, the rocks are supposed to be less rocky and smoother, apparently.
cool. Let's see. What is there any other final things that you'd want to see in exploration so far? Is it? Do you think that we need a lot more plants?
I think so. I mean, that and the ability to name plants. If you discovered it, you
Oh
should be able
no,
to name it.
no. That's that. We've seen what happens in No Man's Sky. In fact,
You,
Neon Dan did an entire song about what happens in No Man's Sky.
And we've already had arse fungus appear. We don't need anything else.
yeah, I've
And
actually
that's
had a
based on the actual names that the game has given them.
I'm sure the developers knew exactly what they were doing when they put that name in there. So
And they
you know,
better have done.
I'm sure they did. But I would definitely more, as I say, I want a reason to want to go to a planet, land, get out of my ship and walk around it, and
Mhm.
I want that reason to have a detour from my jumping thing, and I'm struggling to find it, but I want the reason for doing that.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that.
I think I have that reason.
Oh, go on then, Ben.
What's the best thing that we all like about Elite Dangerous?
Being in a spaceship.
Second best thing.
Flying around the
I mean,
galaxy.
the community.
Taking photos of it.
Well, that'd be about fourth or fifth down my list, but never mind.
Yeah, okay. But, why... I wonder if there is a way that you could get credits for taking in-game photographs, essentially.
I mean, like in Jurassic World, where you get photographs, you get money for taking photographs of dinosaurs.
Do you?
Yeah, you get money for taking like the photograph of a Triceratops arse or something like that.
And I'm just wondering if something like that, and the more unique things in the photo, the more money it's worth. The location, and if there was some way to quantify the beauty in inverted commas, that I think could be very good, very compelling, very fun gameplay. That actually is why explorers go out exploring.
So basically, a big photo competition.
Well, I don't think explorers go out there to scan flowers.
Focus stick.
They go out there to see all the views, don't they?
Psychic.
I think that would have an it that explore it, it's difficult to use an algorithm to quantify how beautiful a picture is.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, that was the wording I was trying to figure out. Yes, you like I the reason I said taking a picture of a triceratops arse is because I could spend for absolute ages getting the triceratops beautifully centered in my screen, or use all of the rules of third I could possibly want, and I'd get the same money if I took a picture of its arse for 5 seconds. You know, it's it would be difficult to quantify that. I just want it to be more accessible. I'm a broken record at this point, but
So how many
that's
hundreds
very
of hours in Jurassic Park have you spent lining up the perfect picture of a Triceratops?
the first sort of like 5 times I was lining up the perfect picture and stuff, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? No one's gonna see these pictures. I'm just gonna take a picture and see how many dinosaurs I can get in one shot. And it was a mess, but I got a lot of dinosaurs and I got a shed ton of money for it. So, quids in, yay!
Well, I'll just have to say special thanks to Cloud Atlas, because he says she says that this is a very cool idea, but remember, this is the show where good ideas come to die. Thanks.
We're full of good ideas on this show.
Yeah, but apparently we
We
killed
had
them.
loads. We had loads of good ideas. Just this one show out of all the 300 and something out. If you took this show apart, you would see more good ideas than at NASA. You really would. You've got for a start, you've got licking the plant. You've got Colin in a grass skirt. You've got
Oh,
Silverine dancing to a song. How else do you get quality ideas like that other than this show?
Quality Tuesday night entertainment. This is what this is.
yes, with your own Shan artificial tongue. So I think we're going to call an end to this one here. And yeah.
Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Go on then.
Well, now we have the community corner. Now, this is what everybody's been up to for the last week or so that's caught our eye. And I'm going to give a call out to Commander Bapster, who has done his own low flying Top Gun video. This normally involves people standing on the ground as someone flies over them as close as they can to their heads in a Cobra. It's quite fun to watch. Obviously, you're not knocked over by anything like that, but it's certainly, if you're not expecting it, then it gives you a bit of a fright. And then they've decided that there's a new sport. You've basically got to jetpack over a Cobra as it flies over under you at high speed. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. I want to know how many people was splattered on the windscreen as they were trying that. But
Can you actually run over people doing
oh
that
yeah,
shit?
oh, in your ship, I've seen people get squashed by ships. You weren't, I know that, but I have seen people being squashed by ships, and I have run over NPCs in my SRV. It does your SRVs a surprisingly amount of damage, actually. I was quite surprised by that.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, so you're going to have to try your Death Race 2000, which would have been...
But not this week. Not this week, because I say I'm being good, non-controversial.
Now, Commander Sorrenti Elite Dangerous has done some station interior comparisons. Ben, do you want to take this one? Have we lost Ben?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm being shot at the moment. I'm trying not to die.
Oh, right. I do apologise. Do you want us to come back to that?
Basically, he went off and did a whole load of screenshot comparisons, and sadly, as I think we've all seen, thought, there ain't a lot of difference.
No, it's just a kind of tinge, isn't there?
I know somebody was basically comparing things, unfortunately, to Instagram filters, basically.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a bit unfair, but I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can really say to that. It just looks like lighting changes, which come from the outside of the area anyway.
Can I just add that the agricultural one is hideous? That green tint over everything, or like it's like a weird green haze.
Yes.
I dislike it entirely. It's so murky, and it looks like it looks like it's gone off.
It reminds me actually of when they were in the Matrix. The Matrix, if you're walking around the Matrix, everything has this slight
Yeah.
green sheen to it. Whereas where in the real world it was more, well, normal.
They put a green filter over the end of the camera to achieve that, and then a blue filter. I believe it is blue. I've watched the extras to that film so many times. I think there is a blue filter that they put on the real world to make the colors stand out and pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to IKEA or somewhere like that and tried to have a kitchen or bedroom designed by them, it looks like they're trying to design your kitchen on their computers just by having the same cabinets and just subtly changing the color to give you, oh, this is the jungle delight color, and this is the raspberry ripple color, and whatever the exotic name they give it. So, I mean, fair dues to Commander Baxter for spending the time to match the screen set, but I think this is just further vindication of what we spoke about last week of how missing the soft kind of human non-game mechanic stuff is.
Can I just clarify something very quickly, Shan? Baxter did the low-flying ship. Commander Sonent did the station interior comparison.
Sorry, Commander Sonent, but yeah, it just, as I say, it just shows how lackluster that bit is. I'm not dissing the amount of effort they spent designing it. It's just, I don't know. It's just.
Well, I think we're going to have to give them a chance to. I mean, when you remember the original release, every station interior was the same, and it wasn't until, I don't know, 1.3 or 1.4 when we started getting very serious differences in the station interiors. I think we had two, which was standard industrial, and then really, really expensive high tech, really rich high tech, and that was it. And then if you look at it now, you've got quite a few variants. So I think we'll just have to wait and see whether or not they enhance this at a later point.
Yeah, but I want more than just one room. It's just yes, I know they can change it and stuff, but the grumpy part of me says they obviously had spent a great deal of time with art assets and design assets with the UI. Wouldn't they have done some of that accessibility and then used the spare bits to make this a bit different? I don't know. I just don't like the thought of having these concourses and things like that, which all of us had in our head when we thought Space Legs. We thought, great, we can walk around the station, we can meet, our commanders and all this sort of stuff. In our heads, we had it more than just a single room in a space station that looks the same apart from a bit of color difference. And
Right.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move on from that. Just on a more positive note, LaveCon tickets on the 3rd and 4th of July. The first batch of gold and platinum tickets have sold out. There is likely to be a second batch of gold, platinum, as well as gold camping once Karen has sorted out all the volunteer places. There is a waiting list for these. So get on the list if you can. If you can't get those, they're not going to run out of bronze or silver tickets. So don't panic if you want to buy a different ticket. Do get in contact with Karen if you've got any questions on or to go on the waiting list for the gold platinum. We will put Karen's contact.
I know the bronze tickets are basically they get you in for the day, but do you remember what the silver tickets are? Because I know people will be asking what's the difference.
I don't know. I think it's just dinner.
Silver tickets get you lunch. Yeah.
There you go. Right. Now, obviously, this Friday, Sagittarius Eye episode. Let me start that again. Sagittarius Eye issue 35 will be released on this Friday, the 23rd of April. We do have something for us from our missing sovereign.
Greetings, Commanders. After a few months' holiday, we are absolutely thrilled to say that Sagittarius Eye magazine is returning this month. Issue 35 will release this coming Friday, 23rd of April. Sagittarius Eye is the premier community-made Elite Dangerous magazine, established in 3303. We cover all manner of topics relating to life in the Pilots Federation. The magazine is a completely free download made by fans for fans. The reintroduction of Galnet, community goals and narrative to the Elite Dangerous universe last year and the announcement of Odyssey have really energised our team. Our designers and editors involved in making the magazine have returned from their holiday full of enthusiasm to get back to their typewriters and boxes of crayons. This is probably the most exciting moment for Elite Dangerous since the release of the game in 2014, and we couldn't be happier to be there for it. The new series of Sagittarius Eye will cover the Elite Dangerous galaxy as it always has, by commanders for commanders. The magazine will be all about player-generated stories. What you fly, where you go, how you fight, where you explore, what you get up to in Frontier's wonderful galaxy. We'll feature player groups, ship builds, exploration guides, expedition write-ups, event reviews, equipment guides, interviews, deep dives into the game's lore and history, and much more. For the duration of this series, the magazine will revert to its original release pattern of monthly issues across all formats. On the subject of formats, we're adding a new one to our offering for this series. For the first time, we're going to make printed copies available to readers. Small batch printing and postage is very expensive, so it'll be added as a premium tier on our Patreon page, but we're happy that the option will finally be there for readers who have long asked for it. As well as that, we will offer the magazine in regular web PDF, mobile-friendly PDF, and fully voice-acted podcast, perfect for cockpit listening. Each format will feature the same well-researched and carefully edited articles, designed to enliven your travels around the bubble and beyond. Sagittarius Eye issue 35 will arrive on Friday, April 23rd. Disembark at sagittarius-eye.com from 5 p.m. British Summer Time to catch it.
Excellent. Shan.
Yeah, I was just thinking, hasn't the Sovereign got his telephone voice on in that bit? It's like he's got his posh telephone voice, but in all seriousness, it's great to have Sagai back. I think those of us who followed it before it went away have missed it. So yeah, looking forward to it coming out on Friday.
Excellent. Right, just quickly, any other business? Now, Ben, you swore earlier. You wanted to carry on swearing?
Yeah, I did mention that the other space game has finally gotten it to its PTU, and we thought that the Odyssey's Alpha has been bad. The various alpha and beta phases for this iteration of Star Citizen have been atrocious, frankly. I think it's currently about 3 weeks behind schedule, and it's adding in some ways quite a lot of good features, in some ways not a lot. We're finally getting the equivalent of ship launch fighters, and also in Elite Dangerous terms, imagine you could go off and dock a cutter to the outside of a Coriolis or something like that. or maybe more accurately, actually, imagine you were coming up to an outpost, and the outpost extended a docking arm to your cutter's docking hatch, and then you walked out onto that. That might be more accurate, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
There's better reputation systems, which is actually that's looking quite impressive, to be honest. The ship launch fighters are. I love my SLF in Elite Dangerous, and I almost prefer flying them to the bigger ships. But my lord, docking, takeoff is a thing of beauty in Elite Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first launched from in Star Citizen, it was scary as hell. And when I tried landing in Star Citizen, in Elite Dangerous, obviously, we approach this area and essentially we auto dock onto it. Yes.
Yes.
In Star Citizen, you've got the option. You can either do something similar to that, or you can do it fully manual, and you are literally almost like docking with the ISS, and it's like get your roll pitch, your everything exact, come in slow as hell, and then hope, and you'll dock, or you can press and hold land to land, and it'll auto land you. When I tried that, I shot forward, backwards, up, down, and then I wound up being wedged inside of two components of my ship, never to escape. So yes, we think things are rough and Elite Dangerous. Be glad you ain't trying to use a fighter in Star Citizen at the moment.
Right. Well, now last week we had quite an interesting little question.
Hold on, Colin. Sorry, quickly. Want to reverse back to what Ben was said about Star Citizen. Looking at the image on the show notes for Star Citizen.
Oh yes, yes.
It just shows the difference between Odyssey planetary tech and Star Citizen planetary tech.
That's fair enough.
Even though the commander looks like he's wearing a Crypsis paint skin suit, but yeah, it just really shows the difference in technology. And
yeah,
I think in fairness, that is the one area where Frontier have nailed Odyssey. That planetary tech.
I think that looks quite pretty. I think, and I like the lighting on it personally. But yeah,
right. Well, since you two have finally finished gushing, right after the surprising discussion we had on last week's show, as we put a question out, which was effectively, if FDev put some basic emotes in for free, wave, thumbs up, Viva Victory, etc., would people be willing to pay ARCs for the ability to do extra emotes? And we got quite a lot of replies to this one. I think it's fair to say that about 2/3 of people would be willing to pay for emotes. A lot of them thought emotes would be essential. Was there any favourites that you guys thought was?
I did see a lot of people making, wanting the Rimmer salute, like you mentioned the other day. There was also one person, and I'll dig his name up because I want to give him credit. It was the Babylon 5. Oh, I have not got it to hand. So sorry, whoever had the Babylon, the best to going be seeing you, or from the prisoner as well. I love the idea of just being able to, be seeing you, as a
the single finger salute, wasn't it? Or the two finger.
That's a different kind of salute, but yes.
No, he used to do a salute, but with just one or two fingers, didn't he?
It's basically you're making a circle with your hand. You're making a circle with your thumb and forefinger, and then the rest of it was like kind of going up a bit, and it looks.
That's Gandalf.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting thread actually, but I think one thing it does demonstrate, whether paid for or not, is the desire for people to have different sorts of expressions other than squatting for people, and I think that kind of does demonstrate that.
The majority did, but there was a lot of people saying no. A significant minority said no to anything.
I think that would probably be no to willing to spend arcs, but I'm looking at the thread. They're looking at the sort of responses. They were still would still want to have emotes. It's just that people would be willing to pay for them as well.
Yeah. I especially like Alec Turner, who wanted all the SWAT hand signals, just over the rest of his team.
Does anyone know what they mean, those hand signals, other than if you're in a SWAT?
Well, yeah, he's actually displayed.
Learn them. I mean, everyone sees in the films if people point at the eyes, then point at where to look, and all that sort of stuff that goes on. But I don't know. I think I just want basic ones. Really, would be enough for me.
Yeah, apparently that's watch or see. So basically, if you point your eyes and point forward, you just watch that person that you're pointing to.
Yeah, I'd want that. I'd want a "you go first" emote. So when you're doing a mission, you go first. You see, you can just tell some.
Yes, Shan will be bravely leading up from the rear. Yes, we've had Ciara. He wants the Sleepy Pete video. Thinks would have been improved immeasurably with emotes. Rubber Nuke wants the Kumo Burger official stance. Not quite so sure what that is, but Dr. Stranglug, he wants a combination of moves that you can put into a dance. And yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because in the MMO Age of Conan, you could learn various dances from various tribes and races, and by using key presses, you could perform certain dance moves to do your dances. And also been all episodes, so I'll go in Guild Wars, you used to be able to do the dancey mode, but if you put a dot after the end of it, what it would do is it would pause a certain number of frames, so you could sync dance with people next to you. So you didn't have to keep going 1, 2, 3, press. It would actually enable you to sync up and do emotes, stuff like that together. So definite demand for it, and that was 15 years ago.
The Chris Mark IV has suggested that you want a licking your helmet visor emote.
It sounds like something Venom would do, doesn't it?
You're the one that wants to taste everything with your tongue, Shan.
I didn't say I wanted to. I said if you just the instinctive thing people do when they're in movies and stuff, they touch it and then they put them out and lick it, and then that's when they get got by something. But never mind that bit.
Right. Does anybody have any final business before I do the shout-outs? And on that note, I guess not. So, right. Just say hi to our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio. It broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30 British Summer Time. You can tune in at twitch.tv Hutton Orbital Truckers, or if you just want the audio, at radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander that likes a bit of CQC action, check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. We'd like to give all the shout outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts which have appeared. So that's Loose Screws, Elite Wheat, Flight Assist, the Elite Cast for Spanish speakers, Canon Podcast, Fatherhood Podcast, Squeaking Fuel, System Chat, The Guard Frequency, and Allagrab AM. For those of you who would also like a literary discussion about science fiction and fantasy books, please subscribe to the Data Slate podcast as created by Alan Stroud, our station commander. Following this, we should have the latest Galnet News Digest as provided by Commander Witherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. Special thanks always goes to Commander Tokuso for creating the music for the introduction of the show. And we'd also like to thank anybody who's chipped in on the Twitch chat and any in-game commanders who have buzzed Ben. Have you been buzzed, Ben?
Mitchell Karash has come and visited me a wee bitty.
Oh, so it was nice.
Yeah, so he's come along and said hi. And now I'm getting the Federal Security Services coming to say hi as well.
Oh, right. Okay, so Shan, you have one final comment.
Told you I could go an entire show without being controversial.
I mean, the timer's still running.
I know. Well, there is a first. Ladies and gentlemen, hell has frozen over. And it must be the end of some kind of era. It really must. But that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio.com. Hit us up on facebook.com/laveradio. Tweet us at Lave Radio. You can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders like to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Shan, thanks to Ben, and to Psykit, and special thanks to today's tech specialist, the Chris Mark IV. But until next time, commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this? Sounds like someone having an orange inserted. Need a safe word. Space can be done. I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we do have a Dark Wheel update that I totally and utterly forgot to put into the show notes because when my PC crashed, I put it into the show notes and then it crashed and then I forgot. Then I forgot to check if it was in there. So anyway, the Dark Wheel update. They are in expansion at the moment and are soon landing at the LFT 509 test site. So it's very exciting times. And then hopefully when they land there and expand again, probably, well, Kaizen is feeling rather negative if nothing happens when they land at LFT 5009 and they don't expand into that. But we shall see, because that's what science is. And even negative science is still science. And I guess thanks for listening. And until next time, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Galnet News Digest, 20th of April, 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news, stuffed with greenery.
The ultimate question of life.
Insufficient genetic diversity.
Stuffed with greenery.
The Odyssey Galaxy Simulator has been trialling new ways of finding new life and new vegetable plots, and boldly scanning where no wearer of a trendy white and orange Artemis Explorer suit has scanned before.
But it hasn't all been plain sailing. The detailed surface scanner has been correctly identifying that the part of the planet with geology is all of it. But that's not, apparently, what fussy commanders want. What these fair weather explorers want is for the scanner to point them to the bits of the planet with interesting geology, which means geology that moves, geology that issues fire or steam, and generally geology that's different from the geology of all the boring bits of the planet.
And yes, we know that the origin of the word geology refers specifically to the planet Earth. But if you think we're going to start talking about Adityan C12-3-ology, well, you're just plain wrong.
The Pilots Federation has attempted to improve the operation of the so-called heat map that the detailed surface scanner creates. There's apparently now a reasonable possibility that one of the many colours displayed may well indicate the actual location of some of the biology. However, no one yet knows which of the colours means it's over here, and which means close but no weird-looking space conch here.
The geology problems remain, if not intractable, at least yet not successfully tracted, and many planets will remain, for the foreseeable future, a uniform shade of unhelpful green. The ultimate question of life.
The densely packed environment of the galaxy simulation has meant that new species that in the real galaxy might be separated by thousands of light years of nothing much of interest are instead placed cheek by jowl in splendid profusion. And just as the discovery of the diversity of life on the Galapagos archipelago led the pioneering beard-wearer Charles Darwin to formulate some interesting ideas about how life came to look like it does, or at least did until World War III nearly eradicated life on the Galapagos Islands, a process of extermination that was completed shortly afterwards by the rising sea levels, the diversity, or rather lack of it, on the planets in the galaxy simulator have led some to question just how the life got there in the first place.
Having surveyed far and wide, the expectation is generally that there might be a dozen different types of plant in the galaxy. Perhaps a few more, perhaps a little less. And we're being generous with the term plant. There are space funguses, space grass, space loofahs, space coconuts with spiky bits coming out, giant space table tennis bats with lots of holes in, and, most exciting of all, space patches of slimy but otherwise featureless bacteria. And despite minor differences from one planet to another, they're basically all the same everywhere.
So, is this some really, really strong evidence for parallel evolution on a galactic scale? Was Fred Hoyle, the brilliant but controversial astronomer, right when he claimed that life on planets has come from space, distributed on asteroids and interstellar particles? Could these plants have been deliberately seeded by the Thargoids, or perhaps by the Guardians, long before humanity existed, let alone attempted to leave Earth?
Some radical creationist thinkers believe that the galaxy, and all the life in it, was created by an art department working in a fenny part of planet Earth. But of course, that flies in the face of all scientific rationalism, and must be discounted out of hand by all right-thinking commanders.
Insufficient genetic diversity. Commanders who have braved the green planet of death, and who have made their way down to the surface, and who have found some form of exciting new biology, and who have had the foresight to equip themselves with the Artemis suit, which is the only one with a pocket large enough to hold the Dyson scanner, the genetic sampling and genomic analysis device that allows plant life to be discovered, have been almost uniform in their praise of the operation of this complex piece of equipment. The blast ring image generation mechanism used by the Dyson scanner requires, or required, an unusual amount of manual skill to operate, and commanders have been keen to show off their prowess in using this complicated piece of technology.
So imagine everyone's shock when the Pilots Federation announced that it had decided unilaterally to automate completely the operation of the Dyson scanner using technology known as computers. These fiendishly clever computers are capable of taking all the drudgery and skill out of all manner of pursuits. Supercruise flight and docking have already been dealt with by these clever little gadgets, and scanning alien life forms seems to be next on the list for the forward march of modern technology.
There has been a veritable wailing and gnashing of teeth by skilled operators of the Dyson scanner. A range of lime green baseball caps with the Insufficient Genetic Diversity slogan, celebrating one of the key features of the Mark I Dyson scanner, is being worn by fans of the device as part of the campaign to return to the era before computers, when machinery was simpler and easier to understand, if not necessarily to operate.
But, like the saboteurs, who really never did throw wooden clogs into industrial machinery, there's nothing that can be done to bring back the craft culture of yesterweek. A few sad souls have begged for a skill-based manual matching process to replace the existing rhythm method of sampling biology. But the 20-sided die of fate has been cast, and the natural one of inevitability has decreed that there is insufficient time left to do anything other than have a point-and-click approach to biology.
Commanders everywhere are now hoping the Pilots Federation will create a Dyson Mark I Tamagotchi toy to recreate the thrill of operating the 3 spinning ring splendour of the original manual Dyson scanner.
And that's this week's biology news.
Galnet News. We scan the plant life so you don't have to. On the nearly eradicated life on the Galapagos Islands. Galapagos Islands. The diversity of life on the Galapagos, the genetic sampling and genomic